you want access to this podcast earlier than any other viewer, consider becoming a channel member. All tiers get access to this podcast earlier than people who are not channel members, and it does help out this channel a lot. So if you do want to get all of the news updates, discussions, and market information for Flesh and Blood before anybody else, please make sure to become a channel member today. This podcast is also sponsored by Fyendal's Collection. Fyendal's Collection is a collection database website dedicated to showing you the market analytics of all things Flesh and Blood. Looking to track an entire master set? Fyendal's Collection has you covered. It's as easy as creating a collection in their collection tab and choosing which set you'd like to see in all of its glory. There's even an option to only add one of each equipment and cold foil, which really excites my set collecting heart. As a free user, you can upload your collection here to have a great look into what you have accomplished so far in Flesh and Blood. But if you wanted to track your collection in the secondary market, becoming a subscriber really ramps up that analytics portion of Fyendal's Collection. For a measly $3 a month, you get to see the gain and loss each of your collections receive, so you can accurately determine the worth of your cardboard, as far as dollars are concerned. Subscribers also get access to the Market Trends and EV Tracking tabs too. Market Trends is a great way for you to see what's hot in the Flesh and Blood market, and may even give you some insight into what you should pick up for your own collection. The EV Tracker tool is another great example of the data that Fyendal's Collection can provide. Tired of wondering if you're going to get hosed if you buy a booster box or even a case? Well, the EV Tracker is constantly updated to show what your estimated value is on each Flesh and Blood sealed product, which is a great thing for sealed collectors or even people who are just looking to get into the single selling business. Again, all of these tools and more are available to you for just $3 a month. But how about a free month's trial of the site before you settle in? By going to the subscription section and choosing a promo code, you can enter my affiliate code ASHTCG, all capitalized and all one word, and you will get a month of Fyendal's Collection subscription service for free. So if you've been looking for a new card collecting database for your master set collections, or even just some small little collections of your favorite pieces of Flesh and Blood, look no further than Fyendal's Collection. Don't forget to use the promo code ASHTCG when subscribing to receive a free month of service. Thank you so much to Fyendal's Collection for sponsoring this channel, and let's get back to the video. Welcome on in, Dragonfolk. It is such a pleasure to have you all here today. I just got done recording a video about the Armory stuff, and our Armory decks specifically, and I just wanted to go ahead and transfer some of that knowledge over here to the Common Language. That's right, you are listening to the Common Language, a Flesh and Blood podcast where we talk about all things budget and all things collecting and just general fun Flesh and Blood stuff because, you know, I like talking into the camera, and apparently you guys also like me talking into a camera. So we're going to keep that going. But today I wanted to talk about the Armory decks because something that I wanted to just convey to everybody and put my stance out there, which I think a lot of people have already seen with my KO Armory deck video and now my Bolton Armory deck video, which is that I truly do believe that while these Armory decks are not tuned to be exactly the best they could be, I do believe that with the addition of new equipment that they're coming out with, and then also new cards, it's just very nice to see support for heroes being printed in general. You know, you don't have to wait for a expansion slot card to come out and then you have to search an entire set for an expansion slot card, or wait for another person to pull an expansion slot card for you to buy it. This is just pure, direct talent and class support for these heroes and any future heroes that come out. You know, I'm sure Bolton's not going to be the only light warrior to ever exist. I am sure that, you know, obviously Azalea is not the only ranger to ever exist. Most of the cards that people see inside the Ranger deck for Azalea, for the Armory deck, end up wanting to play them in Riptide anyway. So it's like, whatever. But something that I wanted to really just talk about is the future of the Armory decks, how I hope that they continue to grow as a product, and overall, again, just making, as long as whether it be myself or it be somebody who's a little bit more knowledgeable into the heroes, it's just better that you learn how to upgrade the hero and make it your own, because that's the purpose of it. You don't have to adhere to a deck that you found online. Make it your own. Play however you want. If you want to play KO that is only 6s and you don't want to play Blood Rush Bellow, don't buy Blood Rush Bellow. Go buy things like Send Packing or Beast Within or Savage Feast or the new Brute card that's about to come out in Rosetta. Smash something or other. Slugged Club. I can't remember what the hell it's called. But I'll put it up here. It'll be right here. I'll make sure to do that for you guys. But there are cards that are able to be in there that can allow you to really play the hero in the way that it was initially introduced to you, and you don't have to adhere directly to this version of the deck won a Pro Tour, so it's obviously the better version. There are strong cards, yeah, obviously, and you can get them, but you don't need them to play. But before we get into that, I want to open up Tales of Aria. At least one Tales of Aria. We have 3 packs today. We have 3 packs in the docket for our podcast today. We've got 2 Dynasty and 1 Tales of Aria. I essentially just cleared out my LGS's boxes again. I'm going to buy an entire box of, I think, probably Dynasty sometime soon here, so I at least have like a decent amount of stuff, but just wanted to go ahead and get that done. So here we go. We got Winter's Bite. This, I believe, is first edition. Yes, this is first ed Tales of Aria, so let's keep that in mind. We got an Electrify, an Earthlore Surge, yellow, a red Entwined Lightning, blue Bolt and Shot. Ooh, a Voltaire Strike twice. There we go. We like to see that. It's a nice little majestic hit there. And then we've got an Embolden for our Rainbow Foil Rare. And then I believe these are all commons in the back here. Yeah, these are all commons. Yep. So, well, we got a Majestic out of it, so I can't really complain. I do already have a Voltaire, but I won't say no to a first edition non-foil Voltaire. Certainly wish it was cold foil. That would have been rad. I don't open enough Tales of Aria, so I definitely am excited to do that. I've also been, just as a little update for myself, I've been been organizing all of my bulk here, and it is boy is it a hassle. I'm very, very excited to almost be done with it. I need to buy another 5,000 count box to keep everything inside of it so I can just consolidate. But for right now, everything's, coming up in the right direction, making it happen. But the Armory decks. What I've done here, I've actually made this little thing, which I'm very happy about. And I hope to switch it out every now and again. But this here, I went and I bought an Azalea Armory deck recently. This guy right here. So I bought the Azalea Armory deck, and then I also have the KO Armory deck in here as well. And I kind of just have these two here, so I can just like, if somebody is just like, hey, I want to learn Flesh and Blood, I can just pop this out and be like, boom, here you go. 2 decks. You can choose between a Ranger or you can choose between a Brute. Which one sounds more cool to you? Both of them do really big damage and really cool numbers. One just focuses on discarding a card, while the other one requires you to like take an arrow off the top of your deck and attempt to dominate it and utilize some disruptive abilities, and it's pretty cool. So I have both of those there. I'm going to plan to get the Bolton one soon. That'd be fun. But I'm very, very happy about the Armory decks. I truly do feel that the Armory decks are something that is that I can personally bring to somebody and go, hey, I don't know how to play Flesh and Blood. Can you teach me how to play? And whether, before it would be 2 Blitz decks. You can grab 2 Blitz decks, put them together. Now you have First Strike decks, which I could also bring around with me. Also in the same box, I can bring around First Strike decks and teach people through that means. But I feel like a classic constructed approach to learning the game is going to be significantly easier than, not easier, it's going to be a better pathway for people to get into classic constructed if that is their jam. It's very, very tempting because we have a very competitive scene in Flesh and Blood. There's always some new support going on for prizing or things like that. Winners get rewarded all the time in Flesh and Blood, so it is truly something that a lot of people end up working towards to be the best they can be. And I mean, even making top 8 is like a pretty awesome feat in most cases, and you tend to walk away with a little bit of cash in that situation too. But it's all about just finding the time to play, learn a little bit more about the heroes, and then really just diving into what they're gonna do. When you're brand new to the game and you don't know anything about anything, these heroes aren't going to hold a special part in yourself, unless of course you find their gameplay fun the first time you play them, right? If I hand somebody KO and I'm just like, this is KO, he's a brute, he's only got one arm, but he's also like really crazy powerful, and he's got a lot of awesome powerful abilities that allow you to pump up damage and get a whole bunch of great, power plays through. Sorry, I couldn't think of what I was thinking about there, but that is kind of the whole takeaway. Is you can make a direct connection to a hero, but overall you're looking for a play style you like, whether it be control or aggro or combo, or mid-range combo is kind of the same, in that same realm. And with that, eventually there will be more and more Armory decks that are soon to be released that will be exactly what we want, which is more people having more options to buy these on their shelves and for people to play them and get really into the game. And I'm always happy, like, I want these cards because I know a lot of these cards are actually going to be great pickups for these heroes. If I ever end up wanting to play Azalea or Riptide, I know that the Azalea deck was a great pickup for me because it meant that I can utilize these cards now inside that Riptide deck, which I am actually thinking about trying out at some point. I do think Riptide has a pretty great place right now in the format. And I think that, call me crazy, right? But I think that is very powerful. The only thing Azalea has over Riptide is Red in the Ledger. And let's be honest, Red in the Ledger is a really powerful card. If you're upgrading the Azalea deck, I suggest getting 2 more Red in the Ledger because the deck only comes with 1. And that was something that I was interested about because they had always claimed that the cards inside the deck, there's going to be 3 copies of each. And there's only one copy of Barbed Undertow and 1 copy of Red in the Ledger inside the Azalea Armory deck. And I understand why they did that. Strictly because those cards already exist and you can go out and get them. What people were worried about is that the new cards were only going to have 1 copy of each. But Line It Up and Stone Rain, both being new Majestics, new arrows that are inside this deck, are at 3 copies each, one of them being rainbow foil, 2 of them being non-foil. So it is nice that they're at least adding every single copy of a card that is brand new to the deck to be available in there. And I'm sure if they really wanted to, they would have removed 1 copy of Stone Rain and 1 copy of Line It Up to put in 2 more copies of Red in the Ledger. But that's, that is what it is. Oh, there's also only 1 Memorial Ground in there too, I think. Memorial Ground just being a way to get another card from your grave to the top of your deck. But yeah, it's just kind of an interesting thing. I'm very, I like seeing the trade-off when it comes to these new decks. But really, I guess I want to make sure that new players are also realizing that these are new player-friendly decks as well, even though they don't have a sideboard. So let's talk a little bit about the sideboard, but first we're going to talk about Dynasty. So we're going to open up this Dynasty pack, look at some ASMR for you guys. Give me a sec. Yeah, that's that stuff. That's that stuff right there. These were the last packs inside this Dynasty box. So we're going to see whether or not something insane comes out of here. Reinforced Steel. Dynasty, another set that I'm looking to start my master set on. I have a lot of rainbow foils from Dynasty, so looking to get those. That is a rainbow foil jump start, and then a drill shot and a scramble pulse. So nothing super crazy inside that pack. But the sideboard has always been something that a lot of people have talked about inside the Armory deck. And I know that recently there was just a video out by my good friend Andrew over at Dice Commando, talking about how the first strike decks have sideboards, but the Armory decks do not. And I'm trying to figure out the reasoning behind why they did that, because to be honest, and it's going to seem like a far-fetched thing, it's going to seem like an out-of-touch thing from LSS, but I don't truly believe that is the case. But what I think is the reason why you don't get Spell Void or Null Rune stuff inside of these Armory decks, outside of like the equipment that ends up already coming with it, is like Azalea's chess piece in the Azalea Armory deck has Arcane Barrier, so it's already the most suited to go into Arcane. It at least can go into Rune Blades with a loadout like that, which is really, really good. The thing is that there's no additional AB. So if you're going against a wizard, like the 2 wizards that are due to come out in Rosetta along with Kano, it is going to be very, very difficult for a player to block out all of that damage. And I feel like that's the takeaway that a lot of people are having with this, is they're looking at Kano and they're going, well, if your opponent is playing Kano, you just lose. If you're a brand new player and your option is just lose, it feels bad when it comes down to figuring that out. But honestly, I think the reason that they put Spell Void inside the first strike decks and not inside the Armory decks is because the first strike decks are supposed to be played into one another. Aurora is supposed to play into Terra, and Terra is supposed to play into Aurora. And then if you buy 2 Aurora decks, you can do Aurora versus Aurora, and those concepts are there. Those decks are meant to go into one another, which means that if Terra is going to be on the defending side against a hero that can make arcane damage and do arcane damage, then you're going to want Spell Void. So you can just swap out your Iron Rod Helm and your Iron Rod Legs for your Spell Void equipment and make that change if the arcane damage is too much for you to handle. The same goes if you're going from Aurora into Aurora, where you can change your Iron Rot stuff into Spell Fray stuff. Or if it's Terra into Terra, you can just keep your Iron Rot stuff and not have to switch into that at all. The reason there is really, really good. But I think the reason why they didn't add any kind of AB or anything as a sideboard for heroes inside the Armory decks is because it is not a guarantee that when you go to your Armory, whether it be 4 people or 20 people, that you are guaranteed to go into a Kano or a Rune Blade, for that matter. You're not guaranteed to do that. And every local meta is different compared to one another. Right now, with New and Zen on the rise, and Victor being a big deal, you have got Azalea, all of these heroes are getting in there and they're doing physical damage. And because they're doing physical damage, you don't need AB. So even if you are going against somebody who's got like a Pro Tour level New deck or a Pro Tour level Zen deck, you're not worried about AB. So now those cards inside your deck just like don't need to be used, right? They don't have a purpose. They're just extra cards that were able to be shoved in there. And I know it doesn't cost LSS, I'm sure, anything to print Spell Void equipment or a reprint of a majestic Arcane Barrier card inside of these decks. I'm sure it doesn't cost them anything to make a non-foil reprint of these cards. But at the end of the day, it's not a necessity for somebody to get into Classic Constructed and need those. But if they end up going to their Armory and they end up finding out that one of the people in their Armory uses arcane damage, the next week they come in, they will probably have already purchased Arcane Barrier or Spell Void equipment in order for them to properly be prepared into those matchups if they happen to be teched into that. If they happen to be, paired into those matchups. But it's not a guarantee. Whereas if you are Terra going into Aurora, it is a guarantee that you are going to be blocking out arcane damage at some point, or at least wanting to block out arcane damage at some point, which is why the Spell Void equipment is there. So that's kind of my hot take on this, on why that is, because I feel like, you know, there's a lot of talk that everybody just kind of wants everything, and Spell Void and Null Rune equipment is not difficult to find. And more importantly, a lot of the cards that have Arcane Barrier or have Spell Void tend to not even be expensive either in most cases. I mean, Dyadic Carapace is probably like the most expensive one right now, but those are for Rune Blades. And Arcanite Skullcap has gone up in price, but I think it's still like $20 some for a non-foil for a legendary headpiece that you can comfortably block out a whole bunch of damage, including arcane. I think it just ends up being a very, very good product regardless, you know? And again, if people are upset that there isn't Null Rune or any kind of arcane barrier or anything inside the deck, then there are ways to get it. You know, you're probably only going to be able to go to 1 or 2 armories using the base deck. But like most people, at least myself, if I go to a armory and I'm just using the armory deck and I'm a brand new player, people have never seen me there before, and I explain to my opponents, I'm brand new, I just picked up this deck, so I'm trying it out and seeing what I can learn about it. Usually a player's response in that is, okay, well, you know, we'll go ahead and play it out, and I'll give you some ideas and texts and tips on how to play the deck and kind of show you what the deck can do. And then when the game is over, in most cases, people will ask for recommendations on cards to upgrade their deck with, and you can just go ahead and go, yeah, absolutely. Here's a list of cards. These cards I suggest going to go get. You can remove these cards for these cards. Make sure to get yourself a set of Spell Void equipment, or to get yourself a set of Arcane Barrier equipment, and then you'll be good to go. You won't have to worry so much about, you know, anything else coming from this armory. And your next week, you're just going to be better. And then maybe the week after that, you get a little bit more new things, and you end up tuning your deck to being at a better spot. But it's not a race. You know, nobody's expecting to win with an armory deck day one as a brand new player. And it's up to us, the community, to continue to show our support to welcoming new players in by telling them that these are cards to upgrade your deck with if you want to try this out. These cards do these things. Do you want to go for more of an aim build with Azalea, or do you want to focus a lot more on dominated damage and disruption? What is your, you know, what would you like to try out? And giving a list based on that. You know, I'm always one to teach my opponent how to beat me. That's just kind of my whole thing. I tell them what my weaknesses are here in my general build, and then I'd say, hey, these are things that are effective to me. You know, so if you have, for instance, I remember there was the first time I was ever making a Dromai play ever. I was playing Tomultai for the first time ever, and I was able to get Tomultai's effect to go off, and it was against my opponent, and I was like, I think they were a brute or something, or no, yeah, they were a brute. They were playing Null Rune Boots, and I was just like, okay, what would you blow up? Right? If I had the opportunity to blow up something, what would you blow up? And they were like, you should blow up my boots, because Null Rune, it's only AB1, and it's what's going to keep you know, me from taking damage when you do burn the malls. And so I was like, okay, that sounds about right. And I proceeded to win that game because I did blow up his boots. It is just, you know, it's camaraderie, especially at an armory level. You know, we all want everybody to win and to learn and to play and have fun, but it's not a huge competition like as if it were, you know, a Pro Quest or a Pro Tour even. So something to think about when you're going to an armory is that a lot of people just assume that you're going to get stomped on, and you're going to get stomped on, and that you're never going to learn anything else. But you're not going to win with an armory deck if you're brand new to the game and it's your first time playing. You're not going to win your armory, but what you're going to do is you're going to learn. And when you're learning, you'll have an idea and understanding. You'll be able to go home, go to Talishar, play around with these things, try out this new deck, and see how it feels for you. Buy cards for that deck if you want. And then by the time next week rolls around, you should have those cards inside your mailbox. You put them into sleeves, you go play at your Armory, and you have a better opportunity into your opponents then. That's my whole take on Armory decks. And I really hope that they continue to just push out these amazing products. I don't think I've ever gotten as much value from a deck at $40 than I think I have with these Armory decks, because not only do I get tools for me to teach other players how to play, but I also get brand new equipment that oftentimes becomes staples for the heroes that I want to play. And I also just get like a ton of the bulk cards that I may not have already had, to where I can get the core idea of the deck down, which is just super wonderful. All right, before we get into our next segment here is the collector segment. So before we get into that, I'm going to go ahead and just open up our last pack of Dynasty here. We're going to see what we can get out of here. We're going to look at the Dynasty set, and we're going to take a look to see how that is running after we now find out about the print runs for the set itself. So very happy to check these out and go from there. So Madcap Muscle, Withstand, Felling, Hemorrhage Bore. I love a lot of these cards out of here. This also, fun fact, a lot of the cards that came with aim counters. Got a Nyx, some Cut to the Chase, a Rainbow Foil Predatory Streak, Deathly Duet, and a Shield Bash. So it looks like there wasn't a whole ton inside this pack. Looks like Dynasty kind of let us down, but at least we got a Majestic from Tales of Aria. So here we are, Fyendal's collection, right? If you didn't see that little ad in the beginning, we do have Fyendal's collection. This is kind of the way I check the market, like an overall broad way to check the market. I just kind of wanted to see what master sets were looking like, what cards are moving, what cards are not, what cards are gaining, and so on and so forth. Dynasty, if I haven't talked about this prior, which I think I did last week, I don't quite remember. These are really, really great pickups if you can afford them. These Marvel equipment pieces that came out in Dynasty. I know Crown of Dominion is certainly far more expensive, but it is a really, really great piece. It doesn't serve a huge purpose right now outside of maybe like Kasai, but it seems that a lot of people are hyped on the Royal thing. So playing something like Crown of Dominion, it's also just incredibly, it's the Emperor's crown in a way. So it is very, very cool. The art's great. The art for all of these is super great. I love, the one thing I like about the Marvels here compared to all the rest of the cards inside like Flesh and Blood is this like black background for the text box and everything. I think it looks super slick. And honestly, I'm hoping to pick up a few of these just to kind of get them into my collection. But the Majestics from the set are also incredibly powerful. You're seeing a lot. Even the Cold Foil Waves of Reality are doing super good. You've got Eradicates and Rainbow Foil doing good. The Sorayas, even just the regular Cold Foil Sorayas doing great. Leave No Witnesses at $18. Surgical is at $19 non-foil. Rainbow Foil Surgical is at about $46. Black Tech Whispers Cold Foil is about, well, it's $46 for Cold Foil. That's wild. I don't think that's right. Crazy talk. $46 for a coil. You should pick this up because this was like $70 something a little earlier in the week. So crazy to think that this went down so much. Nitro Mechanoid, even the Cold Foil at $32 is a pretty great pickup. Obviously the Marvel is significantly cooler, but even if you wanted to just get the Cold Foil version, that's pretty great. I know the non-foil version I think is going for, where do we have it here? The non-foil Construct Nitro Mechanoid. Oh man, I am just not seeing it here. I might have just missed it. Let's see. Yeah, because that's the Cold Foil. There it is. I don't know why it was just right over here, $30. So really for $2 extra, you can buy a Cold Foil version or you can buy a Rainbow Foil version of it. So not too bad. The Cold Foil Spirit of Irina still being $23 is insane to me. This is definitely goes, if you have an opportunity to put this inside your Bolton Armory deck. A Cold Foil Spirit of Irina, super cool. Rainbow Foil is only $4 less. So buy the Cold Foil. Just buy the Cold Foil. You're so much better off. It's a legendary. Better off buying the Cold Foil. Then, of course, you have some extended arts, right? Iron Song Pride extended art, Looming Doom extended art. I'm expecting to see a lot of change with Looming Doom because I kind of expect Florian to be a bit more like a Fatigue Runeblade almost. As much as I'd like him to not be like that, I believe him to be kind of a Fatigue Runeblade. And if that's the case, stacking a whole bunch of Rune Chants and then putting a Looming Doom out while keeping your life total high, it's going to be very, very good. So a lot of these Majestics, super, super good to have. And if they're affordable and within your range, I do suggest getting them because it is just like the best value you can get out of these. But Dynasty, of course, barring anything. Now hold on. We've got something wrong here. There's 2 Spirit of Irenas in cold foil. See, I need to go through these and check these out because there's a Spirit of Irena cold foil right here that is $34 and these ones are $23. So I don't know. I'll figure that out in post. But you also have these here too. There's 2 rainbow foil Crown of Dominions. One of them's 33, one of them's 32. So I'm assuming this is significantly less. I have to go through this list and double check because it doesn't seem to populate the correct ones. But now we go ahead and we'll go into Bright Lights. This is actually a set that I didn't quite think I was going to master set. I was like, I don't know about this. I'm not a big Mechanologist fan, although I do quite enjoy the gameplay of Mechanologist. But a lot of the cards in here, super cheap for what they're worth, like crazy cheap. But, of course, they're only Mechanologist. A Tome of Imperial Flame at $11 is an insane deal. Tome of Imperial Flame is the card that was like $35 a piece when Dromai was at top of her game. So Tome of Imperial Flame is definitely a pickup if you're looking to play Draconic heroes later in the future when we go back to Volcor, which I'm sure we will sometime soon here. And then, of course, you also have a lot of... there was a lot of new cards that are coming out for Teklevosen for Arcane Barrier and things like that. And so I think that Teklevosen might be getting kind of close to being an actual threat in the game, and because of that, I do think that that it's time to start picking some of this stuff up. Right? Obviously, if you already have a cold foil Marvel of Singularity, that's rad. But just the regular Singularity being at $32, you only need 1 for the deck, and it's a great starting point to kind of get yourself into that Voltron mood. But outside of that, a lot of this expansion slot stuff is a really great pickup. Sonata Phantasmia at $3, great. Contest the Minefield, great. If you can pick any of the expansion slot stuff up for less than $5, pick up a playset, because at any point they could just like rise in price. So make sure you're aware of that. Now we're going to look at heavy hitters. Of course, heavy hitters having all these fantastic marvels at the top here. Kasai just now getting the Command and Conquer version of herself in because she won the Deathmatch Arena stuff. Very, very cool. But her Marvel is, of course, about $300 at market pricing. So low pricing, we're probably looking somewhere around, like 184. So significantly less. These are much like more consistent prices, I want to say. But Bounce Justice Cold Foil, hard to pull, very nice card. The Cold Foil Deathmatch Arena, it only comes in Cold Foil, which is why it's so hard to find at $107. Even the Rainbow Foil Bounce of Justice is about $111. So honestly, if I were you and you had $70 to drop somewhere, I suggest trading in a Bounce of Justice and $70 to getting a Cold Foil, because if you can get a Cold Foil, it's harder to pull and much better. Then, of course, all these Marvels, KO, I think, still being my favorite adult Marvel out of all of these heroes. But they're all above $100 except Betsy. Poor Betsy is under $100. She's about $76 for her adult Marvel, which I don't know. I mean, like, I still think I'd pick up even, I mean, obviously, if you're doing a master set, you need to pick it up. But most people aren't playing Betsy. And because most people aren't playing Betsy, now is the time to buy things for Betsy. Something I always tell to everybody. But the young heroes in Marvel are super easy to pick up. $27 for young Kasai, which I think is a better looking card than adult Kasai. And then, of course, you have Victor Goldmane, KO, Betsy, Olympia, all of these Marvels as well, being under $30 for any of these Marvels. They were easier to pull. I don't know if it was like, rare dragons from Uprising pull rates, but they were easier to pull. which is why there's so many more of them. But they're still done by playability. Not many people play young hero formats, and so because of that, these are easy pickups for people who are looking to play any of these heroes in the young formats, like Blitz or Clash or Commoner. Super great ways. And then, of course, even when you look at stuff like this, like the equipment has certainly seen better days too. $30 for Rainbow Foil Gauntlets of Iron Will. You've got $40 for Rainbow Foil Apex Bonebreaker, $48 for Rainbow Foil Grains of Bloodspill. And honestly, if it's $56 for a cold foil and $48 for a rainbow foil, buy the cold foil. If it's only like $20 more for a cold foil, buy the cold foil. I cannot stress this enough. Buy the cold foil, okay? Because it's never going to be reprinted in a cold foil like that in any future set. It's the rarest version of that card inside the set. So if this Apex Bonebreaker, if you're going to go buy one for $40, go buy a cold foil one for $65 instead. If you're going to buy a Grains of Bloodspill, don't buy one at $48, buy one at $56. Don't buy a Rainbow Foil Gauntlets of Iron Will, buy a $50 cold foil Gauntlets of Iron Will. I promise you, that's not me trying to just like upsell cards. You need to get cold foils if you're trying to collect. They're going to be the harder versions of the cards to get in the future anyway. And if any of these classes become any more popular than they already are, these cards are going to spike up in price. And you do not want to miss out on something like that, especially if they're only $15 to $20 in difference between one to the other. And then again, we take a look at a lot of this expansion slot stuff. Aether Arc going up a little bit because of the Wizards. Sonata Galaxia going up because of Runeblade. You also have Evo Magneto going up because, in case you're going against other mechanologists. Standing Order seems to be doing okay, I guess. It's gone down a little bit. Judge, Jury, Executioner not going up in price. I suggest getting this for your Azalea Armory deck if you have the opportunity to, because it is aim counter focused. So it's a very nice card. But overall, the set seems pretty easy to get for the most part. Cold foil hot streaks are at $6. It's a pretty good deal. And then we'll check that out. So it's not too bad there. Let's move on. We're going to take a look at Tales of Aria Unlimited. Tales of Aria Unlimited, I know we talked about this last week for net decking. We talked about it because the Collector's Week print runs had come out, and I wanted to just double check on this again to see what we're looking like. Tales of Aria Unlimited was short. I wouldn't say it's short printed. They seem to have gotten rid of a lot of the print run. This is about like 76,000 boxes of Tales of Aria Unlimited on the open market, and that means that a lot of these cards are much more rare than one would expect. Corsham hasn't really moved. It's a very hard fable to get. It's $64. It's pretty good. Shock Charmers, New Horizon, and Spellbound Creepers have been going up pretty significantly. But again, we are left with the dilemma of cold foil is going to probably be the most sought after version of these cards outside of like a gold foil. A cold foil is going to be the most sought after version. So while these cards are hard to get, and like, they're legendaries inside a short open market printed set, the first edition stuff is probably going to be a lot cheaper. Maybe not by much, but it will certainly be cheap-ish. New Horizons is still more expensive in cold foil. Spellbound's more expensive in cold foil. Shock Charmers is more expensive in cold foil. And then Corsham also by like $1 more expensive in cold foil. Moving on to the market trends section of our little collection spree here, we're going to take a look at some cards that have been gaining value over this past week since the last time we checked it. And to no surprise, you're seeing a lot of stuff just kind of leave the market. But overall, it hasn't been a huge swath of things that we haven't already expected. So take a look. The cold foil sync belows have gone up significantly. Obviously, these are judge promos and they're very, very hard to get. And everybody who wants to play sync belows ends up wanting to play 3 cold foil sync belows. So it is kind of a big deal there. I don't expect to do anything crazy with that. I believe this is the cold foil Icelander they're looking to bring back. A lot of people are probably getting this specifically because they want to play Icelander and LL in this upcoming skirmish season. So having a cold foil version of her here is great, although I would imagine, well, her Marvel version is not her adult version, which is where you have a discrepancy. Her Marvel version is her young version of herself, which is not able to be played in Living Legend format. So that's an interesting thing. History Pack Volume 1 booster box case has gone up by a little bit. Now that's looking at about $400 in regards to what it's worth. That's pretty good, I gotta say. I think that's a lot of value there. I think that there are a lot of white border cards that are in the set that are, you know, not being appreciated. And if I had the money to buy a case, I certainly would. But it's okay. Like, I think at $400 at $100 a box, I think that's about where you're expected to be. If you can get it for less, rad. If you can't, no worries. Speaking of HP1, Storm Striders, the white border one has gone up in price. We're probably going to see a little bit of a buyout of Storm Striders the more we learn about the set, because more people are going to get hyped about Wizard, and Storm Striders is going to kind of be the way to go about playing these wizards. Persuasive Prognosis has gone up in price. Again, this is a Wonderful Majestic for new, so Persuasive Prognosis is going to be a big hit. This is the non-foil version and not the rainbow foil version, so I'm expecting the rainbow foil version also is going up, which it looks like it is about $12 a piece now. So for some reason you can buy the rainbow foil for cheaper than the non-foil, but totally up to player preference. Light of Soul still up there. The cold foil at about $213. Prism players are thriving with this, so that's at least something they like to keep in there. Storm Striders in the Unlimited Arcane Rising for rainbow foil, about $97. So for some reason, it's only gone up a little bit more, but I don't think too many people are picking up. I think more people are picking up the History Pack 1 Storm Striders than they are the Arcane Rising ones, because they're going to be more, there's going to be more of them on the market more than likely. This Timestamp Potion, this is the promo of this Timestamp Potion. I believe you were able to get it at Nationals or something. This Timestamp Potion is going for about $77 for this promo. It's a super beautiful promo. It's in cold foil. If you use Timestamp Potions, you're gonna want something like this, but I would like at least one for my collection, but at $77, it'll have to wait. Then we have Saving Grace. Saving Grace, the rainbow foil Saving Grace. There's only one rainbow foil Saving Grace inside of the Bolton Armory decks. So if you're trying to get 3 rainbow foils, you need to buy 3 decks, or you need to go buy 3 of these. So they're sitting at about $12, $13 a piece, which is pretty cool. Beckoning Mistblade, that's a cold foil version of it on the right side, is going for about $31 now. You also have things like First Ed Rainbow Foil 9th Blade of the Blood Oath. A lot of people are expecting to use cards like this in Runeblade, and so they're getting the First Ed stuff out of the way. $71 for a First Ed Rainbow Foil, though, which is crazy to me. Codex, still rising. Still rising. Genuinely, if you are not super feeling Assassin or Ranger, you should probably sell your Codexes. Because the money is so good for this card that if it ever gets reprinted to a level that like is, because Majestics were really hard to pull in Outsiders, and so there already is kind of like a lower print run for it, and now that we know the print run numbers for Outsiders, it's probably even less. So these cards are rising. It's entirely up to you if you want to sell them. I'm certainly debating selling them, but that's just because I don't go to enough armories for me to be like, yeah, Codex of Frailty, I could totally make that happen. But the card is necessary if you're playing Ranger or Assassin. So I don't know. There's a little bit of giveaway there. This is probably the craziest thing of me not knowing, is that the weakest link is up to $50 almost for a card. The weakest link. I didn't think people expected this card to be this like expensive ever, but if you spec'd on this card early, good on you, because this card is apparently now like the next Command and Conquer almost, where you make sure to get a card with no block out of their hand, and if you do, then you draw a card. So it's draw power, it gets rid of resources for them, and It's just like an overall really powerful card. It blocks for 3, I think. So that's another big take there. But yeah, tons of different stuff over here. Like all this stuff, this is all just flat gain over the course of these last 3 days. So if you are looking to get into more of this stuff, into checking out this flat gain of a lot of these cards, you can always go ahead and become a subscriber over on Fyendal's collection. And your first month is free on me if you use #TCG, the code that I have provided here. You can go check that. It's ASHTCG, all one word, all caps. You can also find it at the beginning of the video if you missed it. And then if you do end up subscribing after that first month, I get a kickback, and it's only about $3 a month. And honestly, $3 a month to keep your eye on the market is pretty good if you don't already have like another separate tool for that. So not too bad. Then we're just going to quickly go over EV. Not too much of a change here, I believe. Crew First is still doing pretty okay. Crew Unlimited is still doing okay. A lot of people seem to be buying up Crew. Bright Lights still has positive EV overall because, like, this is nice. Like, just the Bright Lights booster box, you can get them for incredibly cheap. Monarch First Ed also doing very good because a lot of that is leaving the market. And then everything else is just kind of, you know, whatever. So it's not too terrible of a time here as a collector. I know we just finished up Collector's Week as of the recording of this video. So if you guys had fun Collector's Week, I hope I brought enough content out for you guys to enjoy that. And I hope I didn't do too much rambling here on today's video for the common language. Just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the Armory decks, the beginnings of them, why I feel like they're such an important part to the Flesh and Blood ecospace. And I hope that I can continue to bring you guys more Clash and Commoner, and even we have a new thing that we're working on over at the Clash Committee that I kind of helped make. And I hope to have a video for that sometime this week, I'd hope. But for right now, I'm just happy to continue to provide all this wonderful information to you guys. And I do want to make sure that eventually, as I start organizing a bunch of my bulk, that we get to go ahead and send some stuff out to you guys, do a lot more giveaways here on the channel. I do feel that you guys are at least deserving of something a lot more than just my face every week. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get something set up there. But keep an eye out for some Commoner deck techs. I have to talk a lot about Commoner. Some stuff is definitely brewing there. And then we have Clash. The Clash Bash Top 8 stuff is happening. I'm very happy to check that out. Then, of course, we have... what else? What else do we have going on in the docket? Not much else. We're waiting for more things from Rosetta. So as we learn more about cards from Rosetta, we'll move through. But once we learn about the rares and the commons from Rosetta, that's all I care about. So we'll check that out then. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to hit the like button down below. You can go ahead and subscribe to the channel as well if you have not already. And then leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think, if there's a topic you'd like me to cover for next week, or maybe there's something interesting that might be a nice talking topic. Maybe if we're just trying to do some fun, interesting back and forth conversation. Also, if anybody who is a content creator is looking for people to join them on their podcasts or their other things, I do have my my email, I'm pretty sure, in the description below. If not, it's somewhere on my Twitter or here on my my actual YouTube page. Feel free to reach out. I'm really bad about reaching out to other people because I feel like a burden. But if there's anybody who is looking to talk shop and just enjoy things of Flesh and Blood, go ahead and shoot me an email. And if I'm able to make it, I'll let you know. But if I'm not, no worries, right? We can always just reschedule for another time or something like that. So thank you guys so much for watching another episode of the Common Language Podcast. I hope this was a fun one. And yeah, we'll keep it rolling. I'm going to keep making these podcasts until somebody tells me to stop. So thanks so much. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And remember to continue having fun in the Flesh and Blood. And I will see all of your beautiful faces in our next episode. Nerd out.